Hey everyone, it's BDC. Thanks for checking out the channel and this video. Today I'm going to do a little showing off of one of the CVs I made. This is the Oberth Class Capital Vessel. It is from Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, which is a movie that was done about 35 years ago or so. It's pretty obscure. It's not commonly known like the Galactic Class or Constitution Class or anything like that. This ship was in that movie towards the very beginning, I think first 10 or 15 minutes or something like that. And it was a science vessel that Kirk's son David was on, and Saavik, the Vulcan lady, that was on. And the Klingon ship uncloaked the bird of prey and came up behind it and blew it up, and that was it. And that's about all the screen time it had. The only other times I think I've ever seen it or heard about it in the Star Trek universe, other than external sources or anything, is I think it was in a couple of episodes of The Next Generation, maybe. The ship, I think it was called the Pegasus. It was the ship that was embedded in the inside of an asteroid or something like that that Riker was on. That's TNG. And I think that's it. I think maybe there may have been a destroyed version in another one of the episodes. I'm not sure exactly. But anyway, I had been wanting to do a capital vessel for a while. And I'd done smaller ones for my Monkey Tools line. So, those are utility ones or small, small crew of 2 guys or, whatever on there. But I'd wanted to do something that was non-tool specific and something that was bigger. I wanted to challenge myself, see how long it would take, that kind of thing like that. So I started searching around in the workshop, and I'd gotten the bug to do a Star Trek one. All the Star Trek ships look really cool in my opinion. I love all the designs. But I'd looked around in the workshop, and there's several really fantastic builds of Miranda class, the Galaxy class, Constitution, the Excelsior, excuse me, a lot of good ones like that. But none of the Oberth, and I've always liked the shape of this vessel. Thought it was really neat looking, so I decided to just go ahead and do that. So hopefully it would fill in a niche for or not a niche, but fill a need in for the Star Trek fans who wanted to see this type of ship. So anyway, I tried to nail the dimensions down as much as I could. I did take a few liberties on building this vessel. It's one thing to design a ship from popular culture or from some other fictitious line of work or whatever. It's something else to actually build it for the game. And so, even though I wanted to stick to the design of the original ship as close as possible, I had to build it for Empyrion. So things like the warp nacelles, there's no warp drive in there. There's auxiliary RCS and fuel tanks and thrusters and that sort of thing like that in there to fill that space in. The other 2 liberties I took, one, the section here below in the stern is from the newer ship design stuff. I wound up using one that's inspired, I don't know if this would be Galaxy class or Excelsior class or whatever it is. So it doesn't have the traditional long torpedo tube looking thing. That doesn't make any sense. And the other liberty I took, the other thing I did here was I added a center section here because I guess you want to call these pylons, whatever those angled guys are right there, that go up to the nacelles and the top of the upper deck there. You can't cram an elevator in there. You can't get any stairs or walkway or anything safe to get people from the Saucer section down to engineering. So I decided to take some liberties there on that and made this whole section a stairwell area. I don't know if you can see the inside of it here or not. There we go. So that's just a quick peek. So other than that, it's built around Empyrion. I put lights where lights aren't normally are. I've got SV landing pads for the upper and the lower decks to make use of the real estate. In case I didn't mention, I may have neglected to mention that this ship, I built it as a support vessel. It's kind of does jack of all trades, master of none type thing. It's not designed necessarily for combat, but it can take a punch. It's got a bunch of different turrets on it. It's got ammo container controllers on it and all that sort of thing like that. So it can work in a firefight, but its primary job is to do stuff like harvesting in space, drilling, asteroids, that kind of thing. Do cargo runs if need be, move people around, that sort of thing like that. So it's kind of a general support vessel. So anywho, let me start from the section down here. I'll walk around and show you guys what this is about. This is what I call the lower SV section. It's got an armor locker, a cargo 8,000 volume in it. You can store, I don't know, O2 bottles, ship parts, whatever, that kind of thing. Has your standard medical bay, O2 station, a couple of personal foot lockers in there. Those have been reworked for Alpha 9.3. I redid it maybe a week ago, and so those are the new style containers, new style cargo, not the controllers. So they don't have the the gimpy 125 volume where you can probably only put 2 O2 bottles and a steel block in there, then it's full. Doesn't have any of that anymore. SV pads, I think these are 5x5 grid, so they can fit up to class 4, class 5, size 4, size 5 SVs on them. And let's see, going into the center section of this ship, I've got everything labeled. I use LCD panels all over the place. Engineering is down here, and then access to the hangar is out this way. I'll show you that real quick. I did have a secondary elevator here, but I was doing some retrofitting on this boat, and I was changing all the entrances from single to double doors, and the placement of the elevator I had for it didn't work out right. So I wound up getting rid of it and blocking up some of the space and making one exit out of the hangar over there. So, or at least internally. Externally, we have automatic doors and ramps set up with lights for the hangar bay. So you can take your HVs and park them in here. They open up pretty early and shut off pretty late. So that was set up on purpose so you don't have to stand there and wait a year for everything to do its thing. The double hangar doors is a secure thing. A lot of ships I see on the workshop, other ones I've used, have a single door, and it makes it an easy place to get inside of a larger vessel. So that's doubled up. The hangar bay, 2-foot lockers. You get your cargo over here for HV stuff. I labeled it with tools and motorbikes. It's kind of the typical thing when you're going out on foot. This would be the place that you go to do it. Armor locker, O2 station, and the med bay over there. So going up the elevator here, I need to fix that texture. It looks like I missed one. That whole area I redid. So let's see. I'll show you guys engineering real quick. There's the double doors I mentioned right here. So this has all been converted over to Alpha 9.3 for weights and volumes. We don't use any of the old cargo boxes anymore. Engineering section is comprised of 4 constructors, one giant cargo bay, cargo hold, I guess, 160,000 on its volume. Got a couple extra passenger seats, extra O2 station. I have a repair station that's switched on via motion sensor. That's a power saving thing. It's something I would recommend anybody do who's building a base or CV that utilizes those. Armor locker, storage for armor mods. You can see a generator through there. One quick note, this box that's labeled main stores is actually a harvest controller, and for the time being it works for storage for everything. So I don't know if that's going to change in the future, where the developers may separate harvested type materials from main cargo. If that's the case, then I'll just make 2 sets of cargo for it. And then going back here, you have turret ammo, and it holds a pretty sizable amount of volume, so you can stuff a ton of 155, 165 mil in here, 30 mil cannon rounds, all your what am I thinking? LS, the plasma and laser turret stuff and all that. You can fit a bunch in there. So for the constructors, I've got simple cargo boxes with, or simple controllers rather, with one extension block next to them, 16,000 volume. That supports those two, and then I've got some for these two, and they're color coded and labeled and all that. One thing I've not mentioned yet is everything inside the devices tab here, everything is labeled. And I tell you what, that was a really bear to do. That took a long time. But it's used for ease of access and that sort of thing like that. So it's basically it's one of those things that I kind of consider doing a good job on a ship. Not just auto grouping everything, but label everything as well, so people who are operating know, excuse me, what's what. Anyway, continuing on here, the engineering section also has a container controller with a few extensions on it, up to 48,000 volume for holding fusion cells. So this thing, I think, total fuel capacity on it is, what is it again? I can't remember exactly where it is. Yeah, 148,200. So it's massive. I think it takes something like 500 fusion cells to fill up, maybe something like that. So anyway, I need to turn. There we go. I'll turn the God mode back on there. Anyway, so one of the problems I ran into when I was converting this over to 9.3 was the space for holding fusion cells, because they're weighty. And since this is supposed to be a support vessel, it only makes sense that I can carry that stuff. So I did a little bit of reworking on the blocks around here, on the back of the engineering here, and did something where it could carry. It's like, I think, something like 3 or 4 stacks of fusion cells and tons of O2 and all that kind of thing. So there you go. Fuel packs, fusion cells, O2 canisters, promethium. That's all ship-related stuff. Back here, we have all the fuel dumps, and we have the O2 tanks as well. Large O2 capacity. You can sit on the ship for forever, practically. Up here, you may have noticed these blocks right here. Those blocks are covering the wireless connection block that's in there, and that's an Alpha 9 thing for weights and volumes. And at the very, very tail end of the engineering section, I've got a battle cockpit seat. So secondary cockpit, if you're in it and the bridge is done or damaged or something like that, then you can hop in back there and still fly the ship. So that's for security and redundancy's sake. Let's see, what else can I show you guys? We'll go through the main elevator here, and I'll show you the upper SV pads, the upper deck and everything like that real quick. I'm going to sit on the promenade here. It's what I call it. It is technically the main saucer section, but it's small. And this is actually one of the challenges I had in the ship. So when you first conceptualize an idea for designing a ship or a base or what have you, you have this picture in your head about how you want it to look. And what I did on here, I already had kind of an idea for the saucer section, but I knew I wanted it to be smaller. So I used a couple of the other Star Trek related ship designs. I subbed to them, downloaded them in here, and we're looking at the widths and heights of their saucer sections that were built and all that, and kind of poking around inside to see what they were useful for. And I wanted to use this one for something that was more support role related rather than how they had their stuff designed. I already had a section for engineering, so I already had a spot for all the cargo and constructors and all that jazz. So up here I wanted to do something, even though I had less space to use it with, or use with it, I wanted to do something that was more support related. So the main saucer section is the quote promenade, and here we've got plant nursery, mess hall, infirmary, and an armory. Pretty simple. I kind of dressed up the texturing a little bit to make it a little more, hopefully, eye-friendly. So you got the polished marble walls. It's less techie spaceship looking. Infirmary here, we've got O2, medical, and then all the necessary medical machines and all that are needed. And then we have medical supplies for the infirmary. You can stash whatever's needed in there. Your dermal parasite gel stuff and whatever, bandages and all that kind of thing. In here, mess hall, this is like a 6 forward, 10 forward, whatever. 4 refrigerators, 2 food processors, observation area out that way. This is directly below the bridge. And then you have your little benches so you can do your stamina thing. The armory in here, this did originally have a slightly different design than it does now, but I redid it recently to have 4 cargo boxes to hold small arms, heavy weapons, demo and rocketry, and tooling. So this is where all of your main outfitting for a player is going to be. And each have 8,000 volume, which is more than enough for anything you stuff in here, small arms and tool-wise. You'll have gobs of room left over. So this stuff doesn't take up any room at all. Anyway, I gotta do that again. I have to interchange because I have weights and volumes enabled on this this creative gameplay here. So let's see, pick that sucker up. There we go. Have a repair station here. It's activated via motion sensor, and that's a power saving thing. I've got armor locker as well. So let's see. We are on the, looks like the port side of the main saucer section. I have a plant nursery. This is one thing I did do on here as part of doing the support role that I felt was helpful / necessary. I mean, I guess it's kind of an elective. I can't remember how many plots I did. I can count them real quick. There's 21 in that bank right there. And there's 15, 15, 21, so that's 51 plots. And it's big enough to hold, or the entire nursery rather is big enough to hold anything you need to grow stuff out in space. Then I got nursery supplies cargo box here. It's a controller, and it holds additional spores, nutrient solution, you know, all that fun stuff you're going to do. Looks like I've got a, yep, I've got a texture here I need to fix. I still keep running across things like that. It's something that's not uncommon for those of you that are watching this that have never done a capital vessel, a large ship before. If you get really particular about the texturing of stuff in it, it's really easy to miss things. And you'll go through and you'll be doing a video like this, and then you'll run across one, oh, I got to fix that kind of thing. It seems like to be an endless thing. So anyway, this is the very top of the saucer section. And a little bit of space on the sides here left over after doing the bridge, so I decided to do a ready room, and it's dressed up with a little bit of deco, you know, nothing fancy, whatever, its own ventilator, lights, that kind of thing. And then I have a captain's cabin, and it's got deco for wardrobe, and it's got, let's see, what else does it have? There's a little sofa. I was trying to cram a TV in here, but I didn't have this block space to do it. And it's got a shower, so you never know when you need to come in here and get cleaned up. And it's got a captain's stash, so private stash box. That's an 8,000 volume one as well. Let's see. And oh, by the way, my wife helped me texture and color this, and I think she did a really good job with it. So kudos to her. Inside of here we have the bridge. Got some deco pieces in here. It's not a really huge bridge. Granted, there are smaller ones out there on other ships. This one will hold 4 people plus the main captain's chair right here. Let's see. One thing when I was doing this, I did the gold texturing. I might need to redo him too. I did the gold texturing and some lighting in here, and color combination with the silver and the mid to darkish blue. That was inspired by a new style Star Trek bridge from the 2009 movie. So that's kind of where that idea came from, to do all that. Same with the lights and all that. Kind of wanted to give it a little bit of a jazzy, active, colorful feel, I guess, rather than the plain, boring, everything looks like metal thing, because that's kind of dry on the eyes, I guess. Let's see, back over to the main saucer section, I'm going to show you guys the upper SV pads. It's the same as the lower SV, pair of foot lockers, typical medical station there, O2, got to have it, we're in space. And then upper SV cargo. This can be for steel blocks, hardened steel blocks, additional fuel, O2, anything like that that's going to support a SV that's parked up top. And we also have an armor locker. So exiting out the back here, double doors, all that kind of thing like that. I've got larger SV pads, pads 1 and 2. I think these are a 7x7, potentially 9x9, depending upon where you put something. You may see at the corner of your eye over there the warning signs. I've got thrusters that are sitting up underneath there that produce a lot of heat and all that kind of thing like that. So Mr. Spicy from Mr. Spicy's Gaming did a review of this ship 4 or 5 months ago when I first built it, and he had tested this, and he was able to fit a Class 5 SV. I don't think a size 6 fit. It might still, but you might have to cram it on there. But anyway, these are meant for SVs, you know, larger ones, any kind of gunships or anything you build, that sort of thing. The other thing I have up here is a Tier 2 repair bay with a console. I don't know if this has been changed, honestly. I haven't looked in the past few days, but I really wish we could do multiples of these, because I would place one of these down in the hangar bay as well. That's probably one of my only hang-ups I have about this ship, is the inability to repair HVs. Shy of being able to use the hover boosters to get one all the way the heck up there, which I don't think is even possible, unless you stair-stepped it maybe on the bottom section. You just can't get them repaired. So that's kind of a little bit of a bummer. I wish there was another way to do it, and I'm hopeful that maybe someday, if it's not in there already, unbeknownst to me, it's something that they'll be able to do. So let's see, real quick, I'm going to show you guys, you'll probably notice the collision lights. I stole that off of, I think, Voyager. So I do red port side, green starboard sides. Starboard side, let's see, I'm going to show you guys turrets. All the groupings over here. I've got internal sentry turrets that'll pop up in engineering, the main promenade, all over the place. There's full bank up. I think there's 8 of them. Let's see, drills and multi-turrets. I've got the drills right there, and those guys are the multi-turrets. Those for salvaging. So somebody sitting in the bridge in one of the seats over there can hop on one of those, and you can use it to take down POIs out in space. There's also 3 straight driller lasers. This popped the ship level requirement for spawning it in survival from 20 to 25, putting these guys on. But this makes asteroid mining a lot more viable than just sitting and doing one of those. So I consider those 2 drill turrets more of a support thing, and these guys as the primary. Let's see, what else do we have? I'll get to thrusters in a minute. Projectile turrets. I think there's some standard cannon ones on here if I recall. Yep. We have a couple of flak turrets, maybe 3 or 4 of them. One in the back of the engineering section there up top. Main artillery, that's 165, like Boomer right there. And we have some turrets underneath. So when I was doing the turret design on this, I'd already had the layout of the ship already done, mostly. The upper deck and all the shaping and all that. And when I was doing the turret thing, I was trying to figure out, do I want to use the retractable ones? What kind of block space am I going to wind up sacrificing? Putting them in? How's it going to look? Can I texture them? And that kind of thing like that. So I wound up using them rather than just the straight turrets that you can place on the blocks. I thought they looked kind of nasty for a ship like this, especially something that's based on Star Trek, and they don't have turrets hanging all over the place or anything like that. At least not from what I'm aware of. So I decided to use all these retractable ones. Let's see. I think I have a pair of cannon ones down there. Yep, I do. And I also have cannon turrets sitting underneath the hangar bay. Now those are positioned so HV can still get in. That was one concern I had. But those cover basically the bottom. On the sides, I've got some forward-facing cannon turrets, and it looks like I put some flak turrets over there on the top front of the engineering section. So those are projectile turrets. Those are your hard ammo ones. Laser and plasma, I do have those on here as well. The laser ones are a theme thing, kind of closer to phasers, but not really. Certainly closer than cannons are. I've got main plasma up there. I kind of think of the plasma turrets like torpedo launchers, sort of. I know it's not the same thing, but so I've got one there, and I've got various laser turrets down below, and then I've got some on the back as well. And I want to say I did put a plasma on the rear as well. Yeah. Excuse me. All of the plasma turrets, lasers, projectile turrets, everything, all of those things are already pre-configured for specific types of targets. So somebody who spawns this in and wants to use it in a live game, they don't have to mess with it any. Certain ones target certain things, so there's not a waste of ammo and that kind of thing like that. Plasma ones shoot at, I think, SVs and CVs, or maybe CVs primarily. Stuff like that. I really tried to go out of my way to make this work well and be less hassle for anybody. Okay, so I'm going to take those 2 guys down, and we'll pop out the rocket turrets. So rocket turrets, looks like I've got one on the bottom section of the upper SV deck. Don't have any down here. Remember, I was limited on these guys. And I got one up front. But I also have 3 rocket shooters. So if you can actually manage in combat to steer this heavy thing and point it at something, then you've got 3 booms coming out the front there. So there's all your turrets and all that fun stuff. The rest of it, let's see what we got. I can probably show you guys let's set it to nighttime real quick and kick on the spotlights. I've got a bunch in several directions. I've got the traditional one up front. That was actually kind of fun to get in there. traditional one in front that lays out the NCC number. The 423 is not the actual USS Grissom one from Star Trek. That's a different one. Spotlights on the front, big huge one, or a couple of huge ones, it looks like, and then on the sides and in the back. So we try to cover a lot of space. I've also got doing some light on the SV pads. So try to keep those guys lit up, make it easier to see, because those are going to be the places where somebody's going to be walking around on this ship. I do also have something for interior lights, and that basically shuts off any motion sensors and that sort of thing like that would kick those things on. What else? The performance of the ship. Let's see, I use all Tier 2 RCS in this. 6 for main, and then for auxiliary, I want to say I have several that are in here. 1, 2, 3, 4 it looks like. So as far as performance goes, let me show you guys this real quick. I'll head back up over to the captain's seat real fast, and I'll enable some of this stuff. So primary thrusters are on. I don't know if y'all can see this or not. That's the water down there. You got your vertical liftoff thrusters. I've got some counterbalancing thrusters up front and the back, although I'm questioning whether or not they're really necessary. But even if they're not, they still kind of look cool. I like them. So we have that, and that kicks on just the primary stuff for regular normal flight. This is meant to be kind of an energy efficient type of thing. There's some other builds sitting over there in this creative game. Let's see, the primaries alone on a high gravity or really, really dense atmospheric planet may not be enough. So the second thing we have on this is auxiliary systems. That'll kick on additional generators. You may have seen the power drop down a little bit. Kicks on those 8 additional RCS, additional lateral, vertical, reverse, forward, smaller thrusters. I may wind up redesigning them with the newer A9 stuff. I may wind up switching from the 1x2s to the 1x3 jets. They're I think over twice as powerful thrust-wise, and they only take up 1 more block space. So that may be something I'll rework on here. I don't know yet. I haven't made my mind up. But this is the auxiliary power. The auxiliary power, auxiliary systems, that's a really good thing to switch on if you go into combat. It kicks on additional power generation and that sort of thing like that. So the third category we have is booster thrusters, and boosters are something I do on pretty much all my vessels now. It's just a way of trying to stick to that power efficiency model where we want to run the minimal stuff to move around, so we're not wasting all of our gas, basically, kind of a thing. But the booster thrusters are going to be these large ones. I think these are large and XL off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly how big these are, but these are the larger thrusters. I've got reverse. I've got 4 additional vertical ones down, and then I've got 1 big monster one for the back. One time on a live server, I was playing SD Gamers, as a matter of fact, very good server. I was playing on it, and I'd managed to get enough resources solo and a base built and everything to get this ship built. And I went to a planet they had that was high gravity, and the ship felt like a brick. Even with everything turned on and the original booster design that I had on here, it just felt like a rock. I couldn't get it back up off the ground. It tilted off to its side and was stuck. It was being crushed. So it made me take a second look at the booster type layout I have on here. And so I wound up making it a lot beefier. Now, it is an absolute power killer. I'm flying at MSCV, and the atmosphere is a power killer anyway, but the booster layout is designed to do considerably worse, more harsh environments, much higher gravity, that kind of thing like that. And again, I haven't gone and tested it back on the 5G planet again, but that's not a common thing you see. So, but it should be able to handle most everything else. There's a lot of thrust now with all this turned on, especially out the back, 1900 meganewtons. So there's a lot. I wonder if this thing can go ballistic, actually, on a 1G with the boosters on. I think it can. Yeah. So again, it's a power killer. As you can see, let me see. Let me get my. Do I have O2 in here? I'm gonna die. Or am I still in God mode? There. Let's get that on real quick. I might still be in God mode, then it doesn't matter if there's no oxygen in here. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, it works. I got up straight up, and all the boosters going and everything like that. Those are a good thing to use if you're in an emergency as well. Anything else to point out in here? Stats-wise, let's see, 148,000 fuel capacity. I can never remember where all this stuff is. Oxygen capacity is, I think, something like 40 or 50,000, maybe something like that. So, I mean, it's kind of meant to be a mobile base. You know, it is a support vessel. It's got everything you need on it. You know, minus a furnace and deconstructor. You can't put those in SVs, at least not right now. But it has everything you need, so you can fire up your nursery, fill up the fuel, turn all the interior lighting and everything off, and log out, sit in space, and you can sit out there for forever. You know, you don't have to worry about fuel or oxygen or anything like that. So I think that about does it for this Oberth vessel. I hope you guys like this. Let's see if I can get a better view of this. I hope you guys like this. I spent 6 days building it, and I've made improvements on it here and there, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So if you guys like the video, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you would, please. I'm trying to get this channel built. So thank you for your time. I do appreciate it, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a good one.